Okay, 12 o'clock Pacific time. Time for security awareness training. Hope everybody's doing all right. Hope you are all looking forward to a nice weekend. I hope it doesn't stay dark and rainy here. If you're not here, here is up somewhere near Seattle. I'm on the other side of Puget Sound in fabulous Bremerton, Washington, Navy Town. First of all, about Lumify a little bit. Let's just a real quick commercial. We have a combination of managed and professional cybersecurity services that in aggregate can tick off every compliance box, provide 24 by 7 monitoring, conduct your risk assessment, do tabletop exercises, policy reviews, all that stuff. So we're not really here to talk about what Lumify does, but that's what we do. Okay, good idea to stick it out to the end here. You are doing something good for the world by being here. There are lots of things happening around us right now that are being caused by geopolitics, and you don't want to be collateral damage. And so, just by listening to me talk about, don't click on this, watch out for this, we're going to give a lot of examples here. You can prevent a bad thing from happening. So, thank you for being here. You can get credit for being here. It's a regulatory requirement and, frankly, just a standard of practice that all users get trained in security awareness at least once a year. And if you need a certificate to go tell your business that you've done this, we can provide that. So just ask. We have somebody in the chat who can respond to things like that. So if you need to get credit for being here, just let us know. Okay, this is me when I was better looking. And I am 30-year plus veteran of information security. My roles, as you can see, have been a lot in government. I was the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer of the City of Seattle. Spent time as a policy advisor for Washington State. I was a vice chair of a Homeland Security Government Coordinating Council for state, local, tribal, and territorial infrastructure protection. Before that, it was the private sector. I was the managing consultant for VeriSign Global Security. And it goes back all the way to I was hand rolling firewalls in 1994 and selling them in Southern California. So that's who's talking to you. And I bring a lot of context to this discussion. Why are you here? You may be here because your organization holds records and other things of value that you don't want to lose. And we see that that's being stolen every day. In fact, there are no records left to steal. Everything about you is out there right now. So we still don't want that to happen. Um, and so if you're here because you are protecting the continuity of operations of your business and sensitive information, intellectual property that your business holds, we're glad you're here. More importantly, if you work in government and the services that you provide keep us alive, or in healthcare, for example, that is critical infrastructure at the local scale. Disruption of those things affects us, the way we live. I don't care about another letter from a credit card company that's going to go right in the trash. But if 911 doesn't work, we're going to have a very bad day. So if this is you, thank you very much for being here. You might be here because, like we said, this is an annual requirement. Someone said you had to be here. Maybe you're in the doghouse because you clicked on something and they said you've got to go listen to security awareness training. Hey, that's great. Glad you're here. Maybe you're just bored and this is what you do over lunch. We don't care. Thank you for being here. What we want you to take away is that the internet is not a nice place. The internet with which you interact is here to sell to you, steal from you, and manipulate your opinion. And lately, it's gotten very good at doing that last one, right? We all have this confirmation bias and we get led down rabbit holes that tell us what we want to hear. A whole lot of that stuff is just bad, false disinformation. There are a few ways that computers and networks are compromised. In fact, we're going to talk about the three prevalent ways. We're going to show you a lot of examples of the bait, and it's coming from everywhere. It's not just your email. Now it's phone calls, text messages, social media. It's all over the place right now. We're going to show lots of examples of that and talk about the patterns that you can recognize, right? The tactics, not so much the specific, the message will look like this, but the techniques, the tools, the procedures that bad people are using to fool you. And you should know that it's not just a shotgun blast out over the internet right now. Okay, it used to be, spray and pray is what they would call that. They would just send out a message to hundreds of thousands of people trying to get somebody to bite on it. Now they do research into you. They're going to go to LinkedIn. They're going to find out your job. Who do you report to? Who in your organization can move money? Who can authorize the movement of money? And they're going to use that to create an attack that is very specific to you. Okay, these are the things we want you to take away. Now, before we get going, cyber all the time doesn't help anybody. Okay. It's a dumb word. The word actually comes from a book called Neuromancer, which is a science fiction book written by William Gibson in the 80s. Right. Information security is what I started to do. Today, it's all cybersecurity. All right. But unwrap your head from the cyber stuff. Okay. These are the business outcomes we are trying to avoid. And this is why you're being trained, because these are the things that cost a business money, that cause us to lose those services that keep us alive. Unauthorized disclosure of protected records, the dreaded records breach. Okay. Like I said, there are no records left to steal, but yet they keep coming after them. Okay. These can be monetized. They can be used to extort someone. If you don't pay us, we're going to make these records public. What happens after that? A class action suit, right? So the crooks, the cyber criminals, know the way our laws work, and they will use that. Okay. So disclosure of records, we don't want that. Theft through something called business email compromise that I'll explain. Extortion using ransomware that I will explain, or denial of service, right? Just throwing so much data at your internet connection that you can't operate anymore. And say, if you want that to stop, just pay us. You can be extorted. Your network used as a third party to attack your business associates happens every day. I just did a PR request for another payment processor, right? A revenue cycle management firm for healthcare. They lost hundreds of thousands of records, and now they're going to get a class action suit. And now every individual clinic and physician's office is going to be wrapped up in that. Okay. You don't want your network to be used to attack others. And then just disruption for the sake of disruption. Again, geopolitics are at play here. The kinds of things that we see happen in Ukraine, they can happen here, right? These are the things we're trying to avoid. Okay, a little bit of vocabulary because we have the worst secret handshake language in the world. Okay, cyber starts right there. We should never have invented that word. It's a cartoon word. Okay, ransomware. Okay, it's a form of extortion. Now, here's how things start. You get a little piece of unwanted software on a computer. Okay, malware is the generic term we use for that stuff. What does malware do? Well, it depends on the flavor. Maybe it's going to surveil your keystrokes to get your bank login information, or maybe it's going to look around for records to steal. Maybe it's just going to try and reinfect other computers on the network. Well, one form of malware will provide interactive access to somebody who is probably on the other side of the world, so they can just come and go as they please. What they do is they elevate their privileges, and there are multiple ways to do this, until they can gain administrative rights on your network. And then they find records to steal. They'll probably go out first so that they can hold the records in abeyance in case you're not going to pay the extortion demand. They say, if you don't, we're going to make these public, right? Create that class action suit. Soon as they've done that and they've found your critical servers, your backups, all the things that they need to identify, in comes the ransomware, and it comes down to one key press, and everything in the network is encrypted and stops operating just like that. If you're manufacturing, you're going to start to lose thousands of dollars a minute at a minimum, probably more. And then the extortion demand will come in. If you want the decryption key to get your network back, here's what you're going to pay us. And what they've probably done is found your insurance policy and know how to set the extortion demand just under that limit. Okay. So these are not, amateurs doing this. They're very sophisticated. Ransomware costs a lot of money. The trend has been for fewer and fewer ransomware attacks that are happening, but greater and greater amounts of money being extorted. So you definitely don't want to be in the sights of these actors. And again, it's just a little piece of software that got on a computer through something somebody did. business email compromise. Turns out there's more money lost to business email compromise than to ransomware, right? Which is, I think, counterintuitive, but it's true. Why? Because in a lot of cases, it's very easy. So on the low end, I'll just send you an invoice, okay? And if your accounts payable department has a threshold under which they don't question things, maybe they'll just pay that. Okay, that's great. Kind of in the middle, the CEO will ask you to do an emergency wire transfer or buy gift cards to give away at a conference or something like this. And the request for that may come in as a text message. Hey, I'm at a conference. I can't talk on the phone, but here's what I want you to do. On the high end, here's how this works. So there's a business relationship between two businesses, or maybe it's government and business or something like that. And somebody is making routine payments to the other. Okay. Well, if you are the receiver of those payments and your network is compromised and someone is in your email system, they look around, they find out exactly what this payment relationship is like, and they will email the payer and they say, we have a new bank account. Please deposit all further payments into this new bank account. And they have redirected payments, and all of a sudden, all the money is gone. Now, here's an example. So I used to work at City of Seattle. And at one point, there is a charity called Mary's Place in Seattle and other places, and it's a homeless shelter for women and children. Mary's Place had their email system compromised, and someone found out that the city of Seattle supports Mary's Place, emailed the person in the city of Seattle and said, we've changed our bank account. Here's the new place to deposit all further support. And they didn't find out until $800,000 later. Okay. That is business email compromise. And you can see there was one where $60 million lost. The way that happened was someone created a fake video, a deep fake of the CFO, had a video meeting and convinced someone to start sending out $25 million payments. And they didn't catch that until $60 million were gone. So these can be huge, huge events. Business email compromise, again, more money lost to that than anything else. Cryptocurrency mining, again, little piece of unwanted software gets on a computer. What does this one do? It goes to work using your computer to try and solve a cryptographic algorithm. And when it finds a solution, that's called minting a coin. And the miner gets paid for the coin. Okay, well, if power is super cheap, you could just go rack up computers in a data center out in Wenatchee, Washington, for example, where all of the power comes from falling water, and just put them to work doing that. Okay. Well, more frequently, what happens is compromised computers all over the world are used to do this mining. They're under a centralized command and control, so everything is coordinated. And when I say it's computers, it's not necessarily a desktop or a laptop. We have found VoIP phone systems doing cryptocurrency mining. How do you know if this is happening to you? Your computer slows down. Your fan won't turn off. It's very sluggish. It doesn't work right because all the CPU is being used to solve this really complex numerical algorithm. Okay, right? This is another thing you don't want. Pig butchering. Okay, well, they actually don't call this pig butchering anymore, but for whatever reason, I've left this here. Uh, what it is, it's actually pig butchering is actually a loose translation of a Chinese phrase. And what it means is someone's going to create a relationship with you online out of the blue. Okay. It's usually going to be some attractive young person. Okay. And they're immediately going to want to start talking to you and getting to know you. And then they're going to introduce this great investment that they're a part of. They're going to show it to you and they're going to get you to invest a little bit of money. Well, then they're going to let you log into your portal to see how your money is growing. You're going to go, wow, this really works. I'm making a lot of money. I'm going to put in more now. And eventually, they're just going to drain the wallet. They're going to disappear and you're out your money. Okay. Pig butchering. So again, we use the weird secret handshake language, and there's a few terms to know: ransomware, pig butchering, etc. All right, let's talk about the three prevalent ways that little piece of software is getting in your network, or they otherwise compromise computers and networks. Okay. All right. Credential abuse is the first one. If you are monitoring your remote access server, for example, or if you use Outlook web access and your users can log into a web page that you operate that connects it to the Exchange email system, and you are looking at logs and you're going, hey, we're getting lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of failed logins here. It's because it's going on continuously. Okay, this is the background noise of the internet, just the password guessing going on. Okay, what are the reasons for that? Well, turns out a lot of people pick a lot of really dumb passwords. Okay, they're the top 10 right there. Those are the top 10 passwords people use. And if you're on there, you should probably hop off of here right now and change your password. In fact, just wait till we're over because there's more good information to come. Um, Unchanged default passwords. Okay, we heard about water utilities getting knocked over by the Iranians. Okay, why? Because they were super sophisticated actors? No, because those water utilities used programmable logic controllers, PLCs, that all run a little web server so that you can, log in, do maintenance on them, things like that. Okay. They had them exposed to the internet and they never changed the default passwords on them. They were Israeli made PLCs, which is why the Iranians came after them. And all they needed to do was go on the internet, look up the default password, walk in, knock down a water utility. It's that easy. Okay. Phishing, we'll come back to this. Phishing, somebody trying to get you to give up a password, saying, hey, here's a document for you to read, and here's your fake SharePoint login page. Password guessing going on all the time. It's not hard. And by the way, I mean, patterns like spring 2025 exclamation point, they know all those patterns. Okay. And I know there's a lot of people that will change their password every time the season changes and they'll use some variation of that. All the password guessing kits know this. Okay. Dumps of stolen passwords. For example, Yahoo, when Yahoo was going through an acquisition, they lost 1 billion passwords. That did not help their valuation going through that acquisition, I can tell you that. So we have that billion password database. It's not hard to acquire. And if you were a Yahoo user and you were in there and that's your password and you've used that password anywhere else, they're going to find you. They're going to find your PayPal account, your Amazon account, your Bank of America account, whatever, and they're going to try that password. So sharing passwords, reusing passwords, very dangerous. All right, that's the low end. Kind of in the middle, we have credential stuffing. Okay, when I say there's constantly passwords being tried on your exposures that face the internet, that's credential stuffing. They're just trying everything. Okay, MFA fatigue, multi-factor authentication. Okay, I'll come back and we'll do a serious definition of what that is because I think there's a little confusion around that. All right. But if you use multi-factor authentication, it means you log in, username, password, and then you get the challenge, probably on your phone. What's the second factor? Okay. Well, somebody that has your password logs in, generates that challenge for the second factor, and you get it over and over and over and over and over. And finally, you just go, okay, just make it stop. And you just let somebody in. There are also info stealers that will pull all the saved passwords out of your browsers. Okay. If Chrome tells you it's time to update, it is time to update because you could go buy a website that's rigged with one of these things. Maybe there's an ad on there or something like that. Some of these ads, all you have to do is drag your cursor over them and they will do something to you. And what they'll do, they'll just pull out all the credentials stored in your browsers. It's really a good idea to not store credentials in browsers and use a password vault, right? All the password vaults, LastPass, they had huge security problems too, but it's not the same as Chrome and other browsers that need to be patched every week, and you might not be doing that. Okay. So all of these things happen. This is kind of the mid-range. Here's what credential stuffing looks like, right? We have this credential, right, the Yahoo database, and there are bots. There are compromised computers all over the world that are used as these bots, again, under a centralized command and control, and they're trying password, 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 password. Okay. Now, it's not a person behind a keyboard doing this, and here's proof. Okay. This is me. This is a password guess about every 20 seconds that went on for days. See where it's coming from? Moscow, China, India. There was Kuwait was is all over the world, right? This is not a person behind a keyboard. This is a network of compromised computers that have been instructed to go to work on you. Okay. Why did they go to work on me? Because I do a lot of media stuff and I talk about China and they know that and they don't like me. All right, on the high end, SIM swapping. Okay, we're still talking about credential abuse here, right? Password abuse. Okay, SIM swapping. How does that work? So if I can go online and I can find out enough information about you to be able to impersonate you, and I can do that, right? Data brokers are out there. They'll sell you all kinds of information. Your social security number is out there. I can find it. Okay. And I go to your phone company. I say, okay, so I was on a ferry crossing Puget Sound, and I was taking a picture of Mount Rainier, and an orca jumped up and ate my phone. So this is my new phone. So I would like you to connect my old phone number to this phone so that I have access to my stuff. And if I can convince your phone company to do that, I'm now holding your phone. Okay. So I can go to your Gmail account and I can say, forgot password. Oh, what's the code that came on your phone? And you're in. Okay. Happens all the time. Really, it's used, frankly, to get access to cryptocurrency wallets a lot, this technique. Um, Active session token stripping and reuse. Okay. I'll explain that better in the next slide. But now it's important to realize that in cybercrime, because there's so much money being made doing this, we have a domestic problem, whereas before it was pretty much on the other side of the world. And if these actors have proximity to you, they can do things like throw an infected USB stick into your bathrooms or your parking lots and just wait for somebody to jack that into a computer and we gotcha. Okay. But threats of violence to give up a password, this is actually happening. So these are high end methods. Don't let them happen to you. Here's what this session token stripping is about. So let's say you get in one of these fake messages, a phishing message, and we're going to show examples of this. And in this phishing message, there's a link there, and it goes to Microsoft. It says, I go to Microsoft. And it says, you're out of storage. You better go check this out. You hit the link, and what you've done is activated a script, and that you're being proxied through another computer on the way to Microsoft. The script will pull the session token out of the stream, present it to Microsoft. Microsoft says, hey, great session you got there. Never seen your device. The challenge for the second factor then comes back because if Microsoft sees you logging in with a new computer it's never seen, it's got to challenge you. Goes back to the user. User says, well, I'm logging to Microsoft, so it's okay. And you just gave up Teams, SharePoint, all the single sign-on applications, OneDrive, everything. Okay. Took less than 1 minute. That's session token stripping. That is a high-end method. And this is happening a lot now. Got to be very careful, even if the link says I'm going to Microsoft. All right, avoiding this stuff. Use passphrases, okay? The NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, new guidelines on passwords says forget the upper lower special character, blah, blah, blah. Use the first sentence of a book. Use a long sentence you can remember. That's a much better passphrase. And just change it once a year, but combine that with multi-factor authentication. Okay. Use a password vault, prohibit storage in browsers. HaveIBeenPwned.com. Check it out. You can find out if your email address has been compromised and your password is out there. And if so, change passwords. Okay. HaveIBeenPwned.com. Okay. That was credential abuse. Vulnerability exploit. What's a vulnerability? Vulnerability is a problem in how a piece of software was coded. Okay. The example I like to use is SendMail. So SendMail was the original mail transport agent, not what you type your email into, but when you hit send, it's the computer that it goes to that will find out what the destination computer is and send it to that. Okay. So Eric Allman is coding up SendMail. He says, well, I need a variable for sender address. Sender address is never going to be more than 255 characters. So I'm going to give it a 255 byte buffer. So what happens when a 256 sender address comes in with a piece of email, or 712 or 1461? You overflow the buffer. And if you can do that just right, get that offset just right, you can put your choice of code into the running stack of the machine. You now own the machine. That's a buffer overflow. That's a type of vulnerability. Okay. There is the seminal paper, Smashing the Stack for Fun and Profit. Okay. Great paper out there. You can still download it and read it if you're interested in those technical specifics. What else? You can forget to change the password on that PLC, right? It's out there hanging out there with the default password. Failing to train your users. Okay, there's lots of things that can be considered a vulnerability. These vulnerabilities are exploited very, very quickly now. It's a race. Okay, you're smattering of news articles about vulnerabilities being exploited and how they're being the internet is being scanned continuously looking for vulnerable things that face the internet. And in fact, sometimes it's started within 15 minutes of disclosure. So when you have a piece of technology that faces the internet, a Cisco firewall, Palo Alto, Sonic wall, some kind of, remote desktop protocol service that you're running, VPN, anything, when the vendor releases a patch, the bad guys are going to get the patch too. They reverse engineer it. They figure out what it fixes so they can design the exploit to break that. Simultaneously, the scanning of the internet starts to look for those vulnerable systems, right? Very, very quickly. Okay, so now it's a race. So if you have a piece of technology that faces the internet and it goes bad, then treat that as an incident. That is your number one priority, to either get that patched or put compensating controls around that in the event that you can't patch it for whatever reason. Okay, vulnerability exploits. So here's the way to avoid this. You keep your stuff patched. All right. Again, something facing the internet, that's an incident. Drop what you're doing. For home users, Microsoft pretty much patches itself. Okay. But remember, you need to reboot in order to activate the patches. So if you look at your computer, if it's a Microsoft computer, you look down in the bottom right of the tray, there's a little orange dot there. That means you need to reboot your computer to activate the patches that came out on the first Tuesday of this month. All right. Um, Apple devices, your iPhone will get nasty with you. They say, look, we've asked you to do the update. You haven't done it. So go ahead, go to bed. When you wake up, you're going to have a new phone. Okay. Linux and Android, which is really essentially the same operating system, you need to review the admin settings to make sure that it's automatic. Okay. And again, once you get the patches, you have to reboot to activate them. Okay. That's vulnerability exploit. Now, social engineering, the biggie. Okay, there are things about us that help the bad guys. Okay, these cognitive biases. So if you get email from Starbucks saying we're having a special contest here, we want you to take this survey, for example, or something like that. You go, oh, that's Starbucks. I know them. They're all right. Right. So that halo effect, right? So you have a positive view of the whatever the organization is trying to reach you. Hyperbolic discounting, limited time offers, things like that that increase urgency, right? Authority bias, all right? Hey, the CEO said I needed to buy gift cards, okay? And you don't go check to make sure that's actually the CEO, right? These are the things about us that help them, and it's good to be aware of these, okay? Phishing is a pretty big deal. There are phishing as a service kits. Okay, they've dumbed cybercrime down so much you don't even know how you don't need to know how any of this works. There's one of them called Darkula, and all you need to do is log into their portal, give it the URL of the company that you want to impersonate, and it will very quickly create a very realistic fake website and use generative AI to design a phishing message to send out. Okay. That's how this happens today. And there's the most impersonated brands right there. You can see who they are, and you have probably seen every one of these. Okay. What they're going to try and do is get you to give up your password, your credentials, right? Here's a document we want you to read. right? You're going to have to log into SharePoint first. Here's a DocuSign for you to sign, okay? And then you have to give your credentials for DocuSign, and then they got you, okay? That's what this is all about. It's also coming in on text messages, okay? So this one is one that you're going to see a lot around holiday time. And in fact, the fake USPS sites get just about as much traffic as the real USPS site. And at holiday time, they get more, okay? Because people bite on this stuff. All right. Now, see bullet number 2 there? This was not expected. All right. That's the thing to keep in mind with all of the examples I'm going to show you here. This comes in and it wasn't expected. You need to be immediately suspicious. Doesn't have tracking information in it. The URL there, irt-address.com. That's the domain that's pointing to. Really? You think that's a USPS? No, it's not. Fake. Okay. Here's one that's going on right now. And you've probably seen this. The FBI has put out warnings about this. I probably have 10 of these on my phone. Okay. And it's about evading toll, paying a toll fee, right? Because you can, I drive over the Tacoma Narrows Bridge sometimes. And if I'm in a hurry, I don't stop and pay the toll and I don't have the good to go pass. So I just cruise right on through and they get your license plate and you get, uh, a bill in the mail for, I think, $2 more than I would have paid if I had stopped. Okay. So I just pay it that way. So this actually does happen, but they don't contact you like this. All right. They don't have my phone number. All right. And look at the weird thing. Please reply Y, then exit the text and open it again to activate the link. No, fake, fakeity, fake, fake, fake. Do not be fooled. Phishing, voicemail phishing. Okay, now they can fake voices. Okay, mom, these bad men have me. All right. Clone their daughter's voice in a fake kidnapping. The grandchild in trouble scam. Grandpa, I was on spring break in Spain and I got thrown in jail. I need you to bail me out. Well, Grandpa's just recognizes the voice, going to snap too, right? Try to verify the identity of the caller as independently as you can, especially if there's some kind of financial transaction they're trying to get you to take. Okay. Right. Today, you cannot just take anything at face value. Somebody calls, even if it sounds like someone you know, if you didn't expect this and the request has something to do with finance, you got to be suspicious. All right. And deep fakes. Now videos can be made that are completely fake. They're showing up in political ads. When we get to the next election, because of some of the things that the federal government has done to get rid of some of the election protections we have in place, this stuff is going to be everywhere. And I said, the internet has gotten really good at manipulating opinion. This is one way it's done. Okay. Hang fake stuff in front of you. People, there's your authority bias, right? Somebody that you know from seeing on TV or whatever saying something to you and you're going to believe it, right? Well, we have entered a time, folks, when no, you can't believe that stuff. So be aware this is happening. And again, if you didn't expect it and it's trying to get you to do something, be suspicious. All right, now let's start looking at bait. We've talked about vocabulary. We've talked about the business outcomes we want to avoid. We've talked about the 3 prevalent ways that networks are compromised, right? Credential abuse, social engineering, vulnerability exploit. Okay, those are the 3 biggies. I like to boil things down into the 3s. Business email compromise. Okay, here's a note to me from CEO Garrett Silver. He was CEO. His email address is not chief_exec.officer1 at AOL.com. And I know that because I know personally the only 2 remaining AOL users. All right. So look at the tactic here. Okay. Really, it's gift cards. You're going to see this. I'm arranging some gifts for the staffs. Okay. That's a grammatical construct that we don't use in the United States. That's more UK, India, Africa. All right. I suggest an Amazon gift card coupled with a personal note. I need you to assist me. Okay. Well, the dude ain't going to fool me because I know eyes up. I want to see who this came from. All right. It also says this email originated from outside the company. There's a banner there telling you something. Microsoft does not say this to you. If somebody's running out of storage, the admins are on top of it. It's not up to you to fix. Okay. Certainly you can delete your email, if you really are, coming up on some kind of spatial limitation, but your admins are going to be telling you that. Every one of these has a fake return address. None of these have anything to do with Microsoft. You're going to see these all the time, right? Microsoft, the most impersonated brand, right? A QR code is a URL. You just don't know where it's taking you. All right. So something like this comes in, you go, oh, well, let's do this, right? And this is a very convincing phishing message right here because it's telling you we want to set you up with multi-factor authentication. Oh, okay. Well, if that was true, then your business would have said, okay, here's what we're about to do. And you would have, this was not expected. Eyes up, look at the return address. Ah, this isn't from Microsoft. Delete, move on. Again, more impersonated brands. There's DocuSign right there. And look how the email return address is so long that you can't even see it. Okay. Right. Via dash notifications at critical informatics, blah, 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 blah goes out and you can't even see it. All right. Well, that's one of their tactics. But always eyeballs up. Who did this come from? Look at the banner. It came from outside the organization. Okay. Here's dial pad. Your service has been restricted. Right. Right. These are all fake. No, Lowe's is not going to give you a Craftsman tool cabinet for your opinion. No, no. All right. These are out there everywhere. CVS, Starbucks, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon. All right. And look at the one here from T-Mobile. Limited supply, 9 rewards remaining. Remember what I said about that urgency bias. Oh, I got to get on this. Okay. They're trying to get you to click. They're using that cognitive bias that you have. Oh, okay. Here's a text message came in. I didn't expect it. I don't recognize the number. What's it say? Oh, wow. I get $350 to $450 for 20 to 30 minutes of work. Hook me up. No, delete this. Make it go away. Report it as junk. Okay. Not expected. Obviously, too good to be true. It's trying to get you to go to that shortened URL. You can't tell where that's going. Right. Right. Delete, move on. Okay, again, the urgency bias, okay? Action required, all right? Okay, this came to me. I have a very, very old email domain that I registered 25 years ago that's just a magnet for this stuff. That's where a lot of these examples come from. All right. So, okay, all right. Here's a quick note to let you know, wow, that looks kind of real. Let me just hover over there. Let me copy the URL it's trying to take me to and plug it into this virus total service. Ooh, that's bad. It's a malicious URL, okay? Network Solutions, for whatever reason, cannot control this problem. I get these every week, all right? Okay, LinkedIn lately has become a source of a lot of badness. And so here's a fake job offer. This was actually given to me by the Washington State Fusion Center. And I have a lot of friends that work over there. And the cyber analyst said, hey, you might want to use this. Fake job offer. It turns out the whole thing was a clickable image, okay, where it says get the LinkedIn app. Well, anywhere you click, okay, you were going to go to this URL, which turned out to be a dental office, right? Not an app store. All right. So you're thinking, oh, okay, I see that it comes from gburke at ionvillage.com. I can tell this is fake. Oh, look, I see the URL goes to a dentist office. Ha 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 ha. You're not fooling me. Take the extra step. Go plug it into virustotal.com and convince yourself this is some bad stuff. Okay. That's that URL plugged into VirusTotal right there. Great service. So again, VirusTotal, haveibeenpwned.com, great service to use. All right, few miscellaneous threats. These are actually my favorites. All right, everyone has heard of the Nigerian prince. Okay. The Nigerian prince is better known as a Nigerian 419 scam because 419 is the penal code, the statutory code in Nigeria for fraud, and that's what this is. Okay. It's better known as an advance fee scam. Here's how it works. It takes on lots of forms. Okay. So here's US Postal Service says, oh, we've got this ATM card for you, and we got to make sure it's you. Okay. Something of value being offered. Okay. It could be, I am a soldier in Syria and I've got a barrel of gold. I'm trying to move, or I am a widow dying of cancer and I need you to help give my fortune away to charity, or we're moving a pallet of gold from Thailand to China and we need your logistics expertise. Okay. So they're offering you something of value. You can get a piece of this. Okay. But they immediately start asking you for money. Okay. Some of them you can see come with, hey, we're providing my ID here, so you know I'm real. Okay. All right. Betty here is not real. United States Postal Service does not do this. And notice this. Okay. Attention recipient. Okay. See where it says two undisclosed recipients? That means it's a giant BCC list. All the addresses are hidden. This went out to thousands of people randomly. This is a spray and pray attack. But what they want you to do is interact with them. They want you to get back to them. And then they're going to make you the offer, and they're going to say, okay, well, in order for you to get this ATM card, you're going to have to pay the handling fee, which is $150. And you go, oh, okay, well, there's all this money on the card. I got to spend 150. That sounds pretty good to me. All right. No. And they will keep asking and keep asking and keep asking, and they will never stop until you stop. And for a lot of people, and I know people that have been wrapped up in these things for years, right? Because psychologically, you don't want to say, I was a dumbass the whole time. I've sent all that money away and it's just gone. Okay. Right. So remember, it's going out to undisclosed recipients. Everybody's on a BCC list. They don't know who you are. The offer is unbelievable. Okay. And it takes lots of these forms. And it may include little artifacts like this to try and, you know, get you to believe it. Social media comment scams. Okay. So if you are a musician, you know who Rick Beato is. Okay? I am not a musician. I'm a drummer. I hang around with musicians. Okay. But I know who Rick Beato is. He's got this great channel on YouTube. You know, what makes this song great? You know, greatest 20 guitar intros, things like that. Great videos. He knows everybody in the business and he gets them come in and play. All right. So on YouTube videos and other types of social media, okay, there will be comments. And so somebody will leave a comment on that video. And then Rick Beato, not Rick Beato, will say, hey, I've selected you as this random winner. Let's go to this other channel and discuss this. All right. So you're going to get some kind of prize. And Rick pulled me out of the blue, and I'm going to get a brand new Telecaster guitar. And all I have to do is pay for the shipping. Okay. No guitar is going to show up. All right. Or maybe you're going to end up with malware on a computer. He's going to say, hey, okay, well, take this. Here's a PDF document, sign this and send it back to me. You open that PDF, your computer's compromised. All right. All right. This is going on everywhere. This is a big social media thing. So beware of this. If you're contacted by the owner of the channel and they immediately say, let's go to this other communication platform and discuss this, right? That's a red flag right there. The computer support scam. Okay, I know a lot of people have seen this one too. Here's how this one works. Okay, it pops up out of the blue because you're on some web page. All right. Well, first of all, how did that happen? The way that we users interact with web platforms, applications, websites is through form fields. Okay. All right. So think of a retail site, right? Amazon. All right. Perfect example. You want to search for something and you type it into a box. Okay. Amazon is a mature, well-formed application, has lots of security people working on things. And so it takes what you put into the box and says, okay, wait a minute. Is this formed correctly? Do I see the pattern of any attack in here? Okay, database, give them what they're asking for. And I get a list of microphones or something, right? If it is not a mature application that's using something called server-side input validation, as long as a bunch of other controls, you could put direct structured query language, SQL, commands into that form field, and you can talk directly to that database. You can get it to cough up its entire contents, or worse, you can inject something into it so that the next person that comes along and accesses the record into which you injected getting a little present on the side that you don't know anything about. Okay. That's how this stuff happens. You hit a site that's been injected in some way, or there's a poisoned ad on a page or something like that. Right. So this thing is just an annoyance. If you see this, do not call the number. right? Because what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we want you to log into this site, just connect to this site, and here's the code we want you to give. And what it will do, it will take bad guy's computer connected to that site, your computer connected to that site, and join them. So bad guy can act like the help desk, move your cursor around, run commands, do things like this, and they're going to run a bunch of fake tools. Oh, you have viruses all over the place, but it says here your support contract is lapsed. Would you like to buy a new one? Okay, just give us a credit card. Okay, that's what this is about, right? There's nothing wrong with your computer. How do you make this go away? You close the tab. That's what you do. Worst case scenario, you shut down your browser and you fire it up again, and then you clear out the cache. Okay, clear everything out of it. In fact, dump all the cookies, everything. There's a little more sophisticated form of this where instead of popping up on a web page, it will rise up from your tray just like a real Microsoft message. And the funny thing about that is it'll come up and say McAfee says this, Norton says this, but you don't have all those products on your disk. Okay, come on, right? So really, close the tab. You may need to clear your browser cache. Just make it go away. It's gone away. Your computer has not been compromised. Just don't call them. Apps. You got to be careful about the apps. Okay. Look at the headlines here. Hackers are turning AI tools to reverse engineer millions of apps, and it's causing havoc for security professionals. Okay. Recently, we all heard about a communication app that is a secure app. But the reason to not use that for certain types of business, like things that should be classified, is because there can be other apps on the phone that are compromised, and we can surveil everything from the compromised app. Okay, it doesn't have to be Signal, right? So look, when if you're one of the app people and you have lots of apps on your phone, I have like three because I have to have them. All right, but if you download a lot of apps, you got to check them out. How long have they been in the App Store? How are they rated, right? How many people have rated them? Because a 5-star rating from 3 people is statistical fuzz. It means nothing. Okay. Look it up online. Any reports of this thing being compromised? Okay, go ahead and put it on your phone. But you got to be aware of these because this is a very popular technique is to compromise an app, get it in the App Store, and then just have people download it, take over their phones, drain their crypto wallets, get their passwords, do all those kinds of things. Secret shopper. Okay. So there are plenty of secret shopper, legit businesses where they actually do want you to go out and experience some business and then write it up. This one, this is not a good one. Okay. So here's how it works. They send you a check. Here's the check. Okay. And by the way, don't do this stuff. I mean, I do this stuff to, create examples for these presentations, but it's better not to engage with these people. But here's a check, and they send you a check for right around $2,000. Why? Because probably $2,000 in most people's checking accounts, certain times of the month. Okay, that's fine. And they say this. They say, okay, here's what we want you to do. We want you to go out to this gym and get a workout, and then write us a report on equipment availability, whether or not there were trainers there, how crowded it was there good music, or whatever. Okay. Then we want you to go to this restaurant, have a meal, write a report on the service, quality of the food, cleanliness of the restaurant. And then whatever's left over, keep $400 as your fee for doing this and go to Western Union. And here's a Western Union number. Wire the rest of it back. Okay. And write us a report on what you thought about Western Union. Well, I hope you enjoyed the workout and the meal because you just wired away your own money. Okay. Because this check is fake. It's got a real routing number on it. So when your bank takes it, they know that there's another bank that they can send it to. Okay. But the check is fake, the account number is fake, and you can see there's things about this check that would tip you off, right? So upper left, Portland, Oregon. Okay. Top middle, Us Bank Corp, not US Bank Corp. Okay. And yeah, so your bank will take this, they will credit your account with the funds, and then about 10 days later, they get it back from the other bank. And they go, Nope, fake check, and they pull all the money back out of your account. You just wired away your own money. That's how that works. Okay? Beware of secret shoppers. Okay, the do's and don'ts. And we're going to limit do's and don'ts to this. There are lots of do's and don'ts. Don't follow every link you get, even if it looks like it came from somebody you know. If it came in and it wasn't expected and you don't understand, it comes in with no context. I've gotten one from a friend of mine that says, Mike, URL, Kelly. Okay, no context. Fake apps. Another thing to know about the apps is they all track you, right? Your location information is being siphoned off of your phone and being sent to someone who sells that to data brokers. And remember, I said, if I can find enough information to impersonate you, it's the data brokers that have that, and anybody can buy that stuff, right? Law enforcement routinely uses data brokers to circumvent the warrant process, right? Because we can get somebody's movements, we can find lots of stuff about them, right? Apps do this. The bait. Remember the tactics that we've looked at, right? Gift cards, sign this document, you're out of space, right? These are all very typical and you will see them all, right? The fake toll charge as a text message. Patch your vulnerabilities. Reboot your systems. If a vulnerability comes up and a vendor announces, we're releasing a patch for this, drop what you're doing if that piece of technology faces the internet. Here's the best advice that I can give you. When I was at the city of Seattle, we took a lot of measurements and we could prove that 40% of the compromises on the network came from the use of personal email. All right. So if your business has a policy, personal use on a personal device, Gmail lives here, Facebook lives here, okay, not on the work computer. You just drove 40% of the problem off a cliff with a policy change. And there's been other research that has confirmed that 40% number. Don't circumvent security controls. Okay. When the big red Microsoft page comes up and says, we really don't think you ought to go any farther than this, it's because they know what's on the other side of that. Don't be curious. Don't go look. Don't reuse passwords, right? Really good idea to use a password vault and let it create passwords for you, or use the first sentence of a book or some phrase you can understand. Okay. Here, this is not true anymore, but this was the passphrase for the master decryption key for the city of Seattle. The galley is always at the Seattle end of the boat. Okay. True story. Why? Because I ride ferries a lot and I know this. The galley is always at the Seattle end of the boat. But there's no way. It would take longer than the universe will exist with today's computers to crack that password. USB sticks lying around, very dangerous, right? We break into computer networks. That's one of the things Lumifi does. If we're having trouble, we will throw USB sticks in a bathroom and wait. All right, multi-factor authentication. Let's talk about what that is and is not. So this is typical of credit unions in rural areas. Okay, you go to log into your credit union website. Okay, your banking portal. Let's see, what's your username? What's your password? Okay, what was the color of your first car? That is not multi-factor authentication. That's two things you know. That is a shared secret between you and that credit union, the color of your first car that you had to previously pick. That's two things you know. Okay. Multi-factor authentication is two or more of the following: something you know, something you have, something you are. Something you know is a password. Something you have is a phone, or otherwise known as an authentication token. Something you are is your iris print, your fingerprint, your palm print, right? That's the way we used to get into the emergency operations center every time there was 2 inches of snow in Seattle and the city was paralyzed, right? You got to palm your way in, right? That's what multi-factor authentication is. Use that everywhere. I use it on my Gmail. You should too. If you see something, say something. Hey, I got the new office policy and I logged into SharePoint to read it and there was nothing there. Or the fan hasn't gone off on my computer for an entire day. I think something's up, right? Report strange occurrences, probably going to save yourself and somebody else. Okay. And with that, that's it for this month. We're going to come back. We're going to do it again next month and the month after. So we encourage everybody, send your folks over if they want to get some vocabulary, know the 3 prevalent ways that networks are being compromised, look at lots of bait, understand what the Nigerian prince is all really about. Come see us again. You can subscribe to the daily InfoSec Insider, which is quick news digest, 5 minutes with a cup of coffee, and you'll know everything you need to know. And our weekly ThreadWatch podcast is a lot of fun, where we're going to try and make some sense out of the news. So thanks everybody for coming. And again, let us know if you need a certificate to prove that you will be here. We're happy to do that. Thanks a lot, everybody.